Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Tuesday Talk. I have a couple of things I'm going to do today based on requests and questions that I had after last week. It is the first week of November coming to an end. I have been trying out the 80-20 animal fat version of carnivore. So far it's going well. I'm getting used to eating smaller amounts of protein, higher amounts of fat. So in this video I'm going to show you a few samples of my meals that I've had this week. But first, there seemed to be quite a few people who were interested in the Keto Mojo and the fact that I'm tracking this week, or this month actually. I don't know if I'll do it longer or how I'll be going forward, but it has been interesting so far. So I just want to address the Canadians because I had quite a few, where did you get it in Canada? I haven't been able to get it. And I didn't. I had to purchase it online from a website called gosups.com, and I'll put the link below. I don't have any monetary affiliation with them whatsoever. I would have bought it directly from Keto Mojo, but they don't show Canada as one of the countries that they ship to. So that wasn't an option. And so I bought it. It did cost, for Canadian, it was around $100, and it came with, the Keto Mojo, $100, but then to get it over the border, I had to pay another $23 in duty and taxes. So anyways, came with the monitor. It came with some lancets, these single-use lancets, I think 20 in total. And it came with a supply of these. These are my last two, and so I've been saving. I didn't test yesterday. I have ordered more, but I don't think they're going to arrive till tomorrow. So I had to skip testing yesterday. I wanted to save it to show you how to use it today. So that's fine. It came with control solution, and this is, if you're sure that it's giving you false readings or something in error, you can use these control solutions to test your Keto Mojo to make sure it's calibrated correctly. Now, I had no way of knowing because I wasn't testing and didn't even know what to expect. So I'm just assuming that mine is working correctly. The only thing I did was, I took, the first day I had it, I think the first time I tested was around October 30th or the 29th maybe. And I had some ketone strips. And so I tested at the same time I did the Keto Mojo test. And where this showed low, the strips showed low. And where this showed higher ketones, my strips were a nice, dark pink purple color. So that's really the only control test that I could do. So here is how to, it also came with the lancet. And one thing I wanted to mention was on here there's a little guide. I have it currently set at 2, and you can set it, you just twist it, and it goes all the way up to 5. Now, when it came, it was set to 3, and I watched a couple of videos online, and they were saying that 3 was kind of the default normal. So I used 3 for a few days, and then I set it to 2. I don't know if I have small fingers or what the deal is, but 2 for me felt a lot better than 3. So the other thing I want to make sure I mention, my first inclination was to do it there in the, the tip of my finger. Don't do that. That hurt a lot, and I had a bruise there, and it actually hurt for about 3 days. So don't do that. I have found that the best place to do it is just, you know, on the side, close to your cuticle and nail, like right around there. And you can do any finger. So, so I've been, you know, taking turns. So let me, oh, it also came with a manual, of course. There's a website too that they have with questions and answers. They do have some videos on YouTube that go over different little things, because when I looked at this at first, I was like, what do I do? So the first thing is I have washed my hands. Make sure your hands are clean. They suggest an alcohol wipe, but then I saw another video by someone who said, no, don't use the alcohol wipe. If you just wash your hands with soap and water, warm water, it gets the blood flow into your fingers, whereas the wipe works the opposite. I don't know, but I'm just happy to wash my hands with warm soap and water. So it just takes a twist to get this off. Just be careful though, because a couple of times when I've twisted this off, I've also changed the setting. So make sure you have the same setting. And then take one of your lancets. I also ordered more lancets. And insert, you'll hear it click. So I have a piece of paper towel this is fresh paper towel. This is sort of my work surface for this. You twist the top off, and then you have the little needle exposed, and then put this back on until you hear that click, and double check that you're still set to where you want it to be, whether that's 2 or 3 or higher. I mean, everybody's fingers are different. So then you have ketone strips and glucose strips. Now, this is probably the only thing I don't like, is that you have to tear these open every time. I kind of wish they just came in a little container. But so far, it's been okay. I just see it as a bit of a pain. And I've even ripped it at the halfway point. These strips do seem fairly sturdy. See, it sort of comes off. I'm a little worried I might bend it in the wrong place or whatever, but hasn't happened so far. So I've got my strips ready. There is an app that you can download so that you can keep track of your results that way. I also have it synced to Chronometer. It was really easy to just sync to Chronometer. So anytime I do take my readings, it shoots right over into Chronometer. So that's kind of cool, I thought. So I'm just going to get the app up. You don't need to get the app up to do your test. It's just for syncing purposes. I like that it calculates the GKI there right away for you. So I'm just waiting for it to, oh, it's probably waiting for me maybe here. So you turn on your Keto Mojo with this big button down here, and then it flashes this little thing down here that at first I thought that was a battery signal, but it's actually put in a strip signal. So I'm going to put in a strip. It doesn't matter which strip you do first. So this line on the strip points up. Like, this is how you insert it. So this line, horizontal line, goes in to the machine right at the top here. And just push it down to where it doesn't go any further. And then we get our lancet, and all I'm going to do is press that button once I position it on my finger. And you feel it, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at 2 anyways. I don't feel it at all. So, oh, I forgot to grab a Kleenex, because you're supposed to wipe away the first drop of blood. So I'm just going to grab a Kleenex to do that. Okay, so I'm wiping away the first drop of blood. And then I am going to, you just place it right on the little droplet and you can see the little strip filling up right there. And it's counting down. It's going to give us a ketone reading. So my ketone reading is 1.2. Now, normally it's under 1. And so today's a little different because we had the time change last night, and I'm actually testing this an hour later than normal. So it goes up as the day goes on, but it is what it is. So 1.2. Now this little button here ejects your strip. Oops. If you do it properly. There we go. Once I shot it across the room, so be careful about that. Okay, so I'm going to get the next strip going. This is the glucose strip. Be interested to see what it says an hour later than normal. Okay, I've just got to squeeze out a bit more here. I don't know if I have enough blood in there. Let's see, I gotta massage this a bit. Okay, there we go. I don't know if anyone else has trouble getting enough blood out, but okay, so there it goes. It's counting down. 78. That's also lower than normal. So my GKI is probably going to look pretty decent today. Normally it's in the high 80s, and even one time it was up in the 90s somewhere. Okay. So then, oops, let me shoot that one out. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it back on and I'm going to sync the app. And there's a button down here at the bottom and it just says sync. And then it searching for the device, and it uploaded 2 readings. And I know I'm not close enough for you to see this probably, but I think it was more the physical, how do you use this, that people were asking me about. So my GKI today is the best it's ever been, as I suspected. It's 3.6, which says you are in a moderate level of GKI ketosis. So that's great. When I first started, it was always over 10, like for those first 2 or 3 days. And I'm now on my 6th day of being very accurate 80-20 meal, so 80% fat, 20% protein. And so as each day, my GKI has improved a little bit. It hasn't been 3.6 yet, but I'm attributing that to being an hour later than normal. I think tomorrow it'll be, like it's been in my lowest reading, I think. Oh, I can actually look back, I think. Yes, so my lowest reading has been 7.5, which is low level of GKI ketosis. And that's okay. It's just telling me that I'm in ketosis, and it's actually a good ketosis. Because judging by the ketone strips, the P strips, I was in ketosis, but the GKI wasn't that good. I'm a super slow loser. You guys know how hard I work to lose 3 pounds a month. If you've been following me, if you've been watching any of my Tuesday talks, you know that 3 pounds a month, 3.5 pounds, 4 if I'm lucky, is what my body is doing right now. And so when I heard the interview with Dr. Bright, and there was 2, Amber O'Hearn and Dr. Bright, those 2 interviews with Kelly Hogan from My Zero Carb Life, which I will link those 2 interviews below, and also Steak and Butter Gal, interviewed Dr. Bright, they talked about certain women who were not having the big success with traditional carnivore. Yes, I've had some success with it, but I've been stuck for a long time, and still creeping down, granted. But I just seem to fit that profile. They talked about women who were over 50, and I'm 64. Women that have had a lifelong fight, battle, whatever you want to call it, history of obesity. That was me. There's my before picture. And I was that way my entire life. Literally. And before, I had yo-yo dieting before I finally settled on low carb and keto. It's taken me 10 years to lose over 130 pounds. And I'm not going to complain about that. It's just been slow. It's been slow and hard. So, but it's happening. But now that I've been doing this for 6 days, it's feeling really good. And I did weigh myself this morning. Normally I only weigh myself once a month because it's way too discouraging. So this week I lost 0.6 pounds. Which I was surprised because I saw a lot of Facebook posts, no, you'll gain weight. I'm afraid I'm going to gain weight. And yes, I was afraid. I was going to gain weight. It's too much fat. But I think the key is to lower that protein. And so that's why I watched all the interviews and, tried to learn as much as I could. Because for me, intuitively, because I'm eating very fatty meats, it didn't make sense to just randomly add a stick of butter. There's meals where I don't have butter because I'm having, pork belly and other things that, there's already meats that are 80% fat. Close to it anyways. So I'm not going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to that. But some people probably could. I'm one of those, even though I don't have type 2 diabetes, I have that long history of yo-yo dieting, long history of obesity. My age is up there, and I'm not a big exerciser. Walking my dog, doing a little bit of YouTube aerobics, Get Fit with Rick or Leslie Sansoni walk, 15 minutes of that is about all I can do because I also have a very compromised knee, and that makes it so that I can't do longer. I can do that and then I have to stop, and that's it. So I'm not out there going to the gym. I'm not out there, running or doing anything like that. So I fit the profile of somebody who possibly would benefit from 80-20 animal fats, and so that's why I'm trying it this month. Watch those interviews because that will explain it much better than I can. So now I'm going to show you some samples of my meals that I've had my first week. I forgot to show you the reason that I put everything on this little paper towel is then I can just fold it up and dispose of everything. They recommend you put the needles, the little lancet thingy, the blue thing, in a sharps container. For me, it's overkill. There's no little kids around here that are going to dig through the garbage. I just wrap it all up in the paper towel and put it in my garbage. But if you feel better getting a sharps container, go for it. I just found them, I looked at them and they just seemed so big. Anyways, I'm going to put that aside. Okay, so my meals. So I'm going to have pictures up on the screen of my meals, and I'm showing you 3 days worth because they're the most typical and interesting. So the first graphic that you're going to see is November 1st. It was my very first day trying to up my fats. Now I stuck with 2 meals that day, and I basically was eating what was typical for me up to this point. And so I had, my first meal was some meat, about 3 or 4 ounces, 2 eggs, and I added butter. My second meal, I think it was leftover beef picanha. My second meal was about 8 ounces of meat and 1 egg, and I added butter. Now, other than the butter, that's typically what I've been eating for quite some time, 2 meals a day within an 8-hour window. Now, so my blood sugar the next morning and ketones, so this is the interesting part. Blood sugar is 87, which is good. It's not, I'm not pre-diabetic or anything. I'm mostly wanting to get the Dr. Boz ratio and the GKI. Ketones were a measly 0.4. Again, I mean, it's ketones. So, I mean, I always thought, well, a little bit of ketone is better than no ketone, and that is true. But my GKI calculated out to be 12.08, and my Dr. Boz ratio was 217. Now, the Keto Mojo app tells me that 12.08, I'm not in nutritional ketosis at that level. And this is typically what I've been eating all along. Now, I know there's all those, people that say, just eat meat as much as you want till you're full and, it'll happen. To me, it's like maybe it's not happening because of this. I don't know. I don't know, but wait till you see what happens next. So by November 3rd, so this next graphic that you see up there is going to be a couple of days later. I got the hang of spreading my protein out into 3 meals, having smaller amounts of protein per meal and adding the fat. So on this graphic, you'll see there are 3 meals. My first meal was about 3 ounces of pork belly, and I put butter in my coffee. One tablespoon butter was in my coffee. My next meal was a can of sardines, and I added the butter that you see there to that. And then the third meal was oxtails and butter. And I think the oxtail, it was 3 or 4 ounces. All less protein than what I had been eating up to this point, and more fat, more butter. So the next morning, and here's where you can see the difference. My blood sugar was 84, lower blood sugar, and my ketones were up 0.6. So a very small, amount up. But it put my GKI, it put my GKI at 7.78, which according to the Mojo app, I'm now in nutritional ketosis. My Dr. Boz ratio is it's 140, so a lot lower. So this is encouraging to me. Now, the next day I did the same type of meal again, but I had kind of an interesting result. So that's why I'm showing you this day, and I know why I had that result. So this was November 4th. I had 4 ounces of pork belly with an egg and butter. My second meal was oxtails and butter, and my third meal was a beef butter muffin, which I'll link the recipe to that below, and 2 ounces of oxtail and 2 butters. So about the same calorie-wise and percentage-wise. I'm up in that 82% fat that day. So the next day, I had a bit of a surprise on the reading. Although the GKI and the Dr. Boz ratio showed improvement, my blood sugar was 95. My ketones were up 0.7, giving me a GKI of 7.54, so a slight improvement, and a Dr. Boz ratio of 136. So again, a slight improvement. Now, why was my blood sugar so high? I was really racking my brains trying to figure out what the heck happened there, and then I remembered. So I do a electrolyte drink every day, and it does have stevia extract in it. Now, normally I have it in the afternoon, and so it seemed to be okay, but that day I had it late at night. I had it outside of my normal window, my normal eating window. And it is the only difference between what's happening here. Like all my other days where I've eaten the 3 meals and everything's been inside this window, they all showed a slight improvement in everything. This is the only day that my blood sugar was higher than it was the previous day. So really interesting and a good thing to learn, that, got to keep all that. So I'm going to continue with my electrolyte drink, because if I don't have it, I get muscle cramps in the night. I get leg cramps. So it seems to work for me. And the little bit of stevia extract that's in it also seems okay as long as I keep it with my food and not, 3 hours after my eating window closes. So interesting stuff. I'm really encouraged by this improvement in my numbers here, as well as, adding all this extra fat and still losing 0.6 pounds. I'm on track for my usual 3 pounds a month, which is fine. I'm good with that as long as it continues up. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens during the next week. And hopefully my strips will arrive tomorrow so I can keep my readings up, because I'm finding it absolutely fascinating. So I'm just going to leave it there for this week, because this video probably is long enough, and I can hardly wait to track again and see what happens next week. I will see you guys on the next video. If you have any questions, please let me know below. I can, hopefully answer them for you in next week's video. And don't forget, I'm still learning this. Check out Kelly Hogan's links below, because those 2 videos are absolutely fantastic and could be life-changing for me, I hope. We'll see. I think they are. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.